Hello guys, this is the video tutorial to help you out with when you're asked to make lists to do with calculating some probabilities. A list is really the simplest way you can write down the outcomes of two or more events to get organised to then try and calculate a probability of a certain outcome occurring. So we're going to use the example of these two spinners here to try and help us get our heads around it. So if we call this spinner A, if we call this one spinner B, okay, all a list simply does is it just records in a logical way the outcomes. Because in this scenario, we're going to spin spinner A, and then we're going to spin spinner B, and we're just going to record the outcomes from each. So let's start with spinner A, and let's say on spinner A we get a 1, and then on spinner B we could also get a 1. Okay, now staying with spinner A again, 1, the next outcome you could get on spinner B would be a 2, and the last outcome, if you get a 1 on spinner A, could be a 3 on spinner B. Okay, now the way to try and do this, to not get your list in a mess and in a muddle, is stick with the first spinner or the first event, which is spinning spinner A or rolling dice 1 or whatever it might be, and go logically through those steps, changing spinner B first time. So now we go to number 2 on spinner A and go through the options. So if you had a 2 on A, you could have a 1 on B. You could have again, sticking with 2 on A, you could have a 2. 2 on A, you could have a 3. Okay, and hopefully you can see now, we'd go for a 3 on A, we'd go for a 1 on B, we could have a 3 and a 2 on B, a 3 and a 3 on B. Okay, we'll go up here because we're running out of space. We could get a 4 on spinner A, so let's remind ourselves this is A and this is B. And again, we've got 1, we've got 2, and we've got 3. Okay, and that's really as straightforward as it is. A list is a way of just recording the possible outcomes for two separate events. And now you see it's quite handy because we can calculate some probability. We can, if say the question said, all right, what's the probability of getting 2 numbers the same? Okay, we can look at our list. It's really handy now. We can look at our list and we can say, well, there's one option where the 2 numbers are the same. Yeah. There's another option where 2 numbers are the same. There's another option where 2 numbers are the same. And that's it, isn't it? Because there's no 4. We're missing a 4 on this one, aren't we? So there's just 3 options where we get numbers the same. Likewise, you could circle all the ones where you got a 1, or you could circle all the ones where you got a 3. So these lists then let you work out how many desired outcomes there are. Okay, now if you watch my calculating probabilities tutorial, which is on the same playlist, you'll find out, and you could see that if we're looking at the probability of getting 2 numbers the same, okay, we need to put in the fraction line, okay, and there's 1, 2, 3, okay, so there's 3 outcomes where the numbers are the same, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got 12 total different outcomes. Okay, so 3/12, or we can simplify that down to a quarter, is the probability that if we spin spinner A and we spin spinner B, we end up with 2 numbers that are the same. Now, very difficult to do unless you make the list. Okay, so practice making these lists with the questions that are going to follow, because then you can work out how many outcomes you've got. And if you weren't sure about this part, okay, then you need to watch my calculating probabilities video on the same playlist. Right, let's get some questions for you, followed by some worked answers so you can see if you can make some lists from some different events. Okay, I've drawn you these two bags with some different coloured balls in for the question. My artwork was never a strength, so please don't tell Miss Bond about those terrible drawings, otherwise she won't be very happy. So question 1. Okay, make a list of all the possible combinations if a ball is picked from bag A and then another ball is picked from bag B. Okay. Question 2. What is the probability of choosing a blue ball? Now remember, you won't be able to do that until you've done part 1, because without the list, you can't see how many combinations have got a blue in it, you see. And question 3, what's the probability of choosing 2 balls the same colour? Okay, so make sure you're careful with your list, and then you should be able to answer 2 and 3 from your list and get them right. Again, if you're struggling, have another look at the tutorial part of the video, because that should help you. We were just using spinners, not bags and balls. Okay, pause it up now, because here come the answers. Okay, so here are your answers. Yes, I've made the list here. You can see the list there. Just logically going through. So starting with red, then yellow, then onto green, then onto blue. Starting, remembering to just logically go through bag A. Okay, so I looked at bag A first. Started on red. What can we do in bag B? Yellow. What can we do in bag B? Green. What can we do in bag B? Blue. What can we do in bag B? So that's how I kept my list ordered. I went down from red downwards in bag A and then put all the combinations you could get from bag B. And when you can see that you've got those there, there's 2 options. I've ticked them here. There's 2 options where you can get blue out of a total number of 8 combinations. Now, it's important. It's not 16, although there's 16 colours written down if you counted them as from bag A and bag B. But the combination, that's 1 combination. That's 2 combinations. It's not, you don't count them as 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you count the combinations, and there's 8 possible combinations, 2 of which have got blue in, so it's 2 out of 8. Okay. Likewise, there's 2 combinations where we get both red, and this one here is where we get both green. So again, we have 2 out of 8, or a quarter. Okay, good. Hopefully you fared up well with those. Like I said, if you're still struggling, come and find me at school and we can go through it. Okay, bye for now.